Hi everyone, this is Steven, host of Computer Art Explorers. Welcome to another exciting episode of exploring how to create computer-generated art. Computer Art Explorers is both a YouTube channel and a meetup group. Today, we're going to discuss all the cool features of the Sidebar application developer. After all, you'll have a lot more fun creating computer art once you become familiar with how to edit your code quickly and easily. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on this to get it started. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about this video. We're going to talk about all the different controls and everything that it can do. And I'm just going to look in the manual under control number 1, and it shows that it is the sidebar. Now, if you want to follow in the manual, I'm on page section 21, page 3. So notice here, section 21, page 3 will take us right to it. So what I'm looking at is item number 1, and that's this item right here. And it shows you that this is the sidebar. It says the sidebar is used to move the location of the window. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and show you guys that. And if I click on this, I can then move the window. All right, so if you want to move that window, that's the way you do it. It's a little different. Almost all Microsoft Windows, it has, you've got a bar up top that you can grab a hold of and move it. This, it doesn't, and there's reasons we won't get into, but the thing is, you're rarely going to use that anyhow. Most of the time, to move the window, you're either going to want it down in the minimize mode, or you're going to take it all the way back up so that you can use it. Now, if you hit F8, it's going to expand it all the way out, okay? And hit F8 again, it'll go smaller so you can move it around if you want. If you have 2 monitors, which is highly recommended, then if you hit F7, it will take the whole screen and it'll take the whole thing and flip it over to the other one. And if you hit F8, it'll bring it back. So if you're going to do any serious development, you can launch 2 copies of the developer. You can have one on one monitor, a different one on the other monitor, and then have 2 different files open in each one. And then when you do that, you can copy and paste text between 2 different files. It makes it so easy to develop. I'm going to go ahead and just put some text on the screen here, start up a new program, just to show you some stuff on the screen. All right. So that's right here. That is everything for the sidebar window. So let's go to the next thing we're going to talk about. Bring this back up. I'm going to click this little button here to make this go away. All right, so number 2, if you follow this down, it's this right here, this keywords, okay? So let's go over to the next page, and it's going to basically tab buttons. So this is talking about all the different tab buttons. So all these tab buttons right here. So let's go talk about these. What you've got here is for the keywords, all right? Under this button, under Lookup. Now, notice here, this is Lookup. It's all kinds of reference. You've got keywords, so here you can go down, you can look all the different keywords. You can go into the index. It has the entire language in it. So if there's a command, let's say if you wanted to do a cosine, if you needed the math command for cosine, COS, so just go down, and there it is right there. You could come down and then you can just click on it. All right, it'll take you right there. It also gives you the stuff that's related to it, the sine and the tangent. But if you want to see it in the manual, you can just click on this button right here. Notice it flips you over to the manual. It opens it up right to the window. And here it's giving you some of your trig functions. Gives you a kind of like a reminder on this. But there it is, and it takes you right there. So if you notice, you're going to use this keyword tab a lot. Now, again, every keyword in the entire language is in this. And if you want to find, let's say if you're in here and you want to look at the pause command, for example, and you see it over here, what I'm going to do is hit the shift and the control down and click on that, and that's going to bring up pause in the clipboard tab. Okay, So here's the keyword tab, here's the clipboard tab. All right, and the clipboard lists the one command that you are trying to look up. If it finds it, it's going to look it up. It's going to bring it in here. What's in the green bars? This is going to be everything related to it. For example, there's a pause control command. All right. Let's say if you wanted to, if you notice here, watch this. I'm going to run this program. We hit F9 and run it, and watch what happens. Okay, so it printed hello world, and then the program ended. Now you notice how the outside here turned red? That's an indicator to you that the program has terminated. What I'm going to do down now is I'm going to just print just some dots. All right, just so you can show you guys the pause command. I'm just going to go ahead and run it again. So what's happened is it printed hello world, hit the pause, and the border turns yellow. And what the border being yellow means is the runtime engine has hit the pause command. So I'm going to hit escape to go past that. It's then going to print the dots, which was the next thing, and then it's going to end. When it hits the end of the right here, the program is ended. Notice that I still have to hit escape, and you guys can't see that, but let me do this again now. I'll explain what I'm doing. So I'm hitting escape once to get past that pause. Now the program is ended. The border turns red, but it's telling the user that, hey, the program has ended. Let's say I don't want that final pause. It's called the end of program pause. Let's say I don't want that to happen. I want it just to come right back so they don't have to hit escape. Well, let's go back to the pause, and there is a command called pause control. So I'm going to turn around, and what I'm going to do is just paste that in here. And then notice that there's a parameter, and it says use a keyword constant flag to select one option. Well, what do I want to do? I want the end of program pause to go off. I don't want that to be used. So I hit that, I copied it. I'm going to come right here, and then I'm going to hit paste. So what I've got here is I've just entered a command, pause control, end of program pause off. That's going to turn it off, and then when it gets to the end, it's just going to come back right back to us. So here I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Okay, so what's happened is it printed hello world. We're now at the pause command. All right, I'm going to hit escape, and we don't even get to see the fact that it printed these dots because it printed the dots and then the program ended because we didn't pause for it. It came right back. So that's a great example of how you can use in the lookup these green lines. The data that's in these green lines, there's different things in them. And in this case here, if you look down here, it will tell you what these are. Okay, and if you need even more information, you've never used the command before, then you can view it in the manual. And in the manual, it gives you the purpose of the command. Notice here, it talks about the pause and the pause control, and it goes through and kind of gives you that. And sometimes for some of them, they even give you examples that's in the actual manual itself. So we just showed you under lookup. The lookup is going to be when this is active, all of these tabs are for the lookup. Now watch if I hit project. Notice that all these tabs changed. You have directory, toolkit, project-wide file tree, okay? And we'll get into that in a minute. And then so if we go back to lookup, see the tabs, they've all changed. If I go to compile and run, you get the compiler, source files, log files, and reports, okay? This is just to give you an idea of what all of these different tabs can do. We're just talking about that. But we're going to stay on focus here, and we're going to move on. So let's go look at the next thing on our list. We are talking about 3, the project tabs. Okay, so I just kind of went through both of those. All right, so let's go to number 4. And number 4 is going to be this button right here. So this button right here. What this button here does is it takes everything from this edge and shoves it all the way over to there, just like that. Okay, basically the screen here with all this stuff in it that is a reference lookup screen and all that. If I don't want to look at any of that, I want to have the whole thing available to look at my code. And by the way, you can have up to 1,024 characters on one line. So this can go way out. Just to give you an example, you can see what it's doing here, you know. And then I've got the bar down here and moving it. Chances are you're not going to want to write a lines code that long, but every once in a while you may want to write some long lines of code for all kinds of reasons. So the point is, it lets you do it. That's the amazing thing. And if you have a monitor that's got a really large screen, best thing to develop on is 2 monitors that have huge screens, and that way you can put one file on one monitor, different file on the other monitor, and you can believe how easy it is to develop. The next thing is, see this little button that says change view? This button here, what that means is if you have a monitor that can actually display 2 pages at once, this monitor can. I've got this screen in blow up mode. Matter of fact, what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and show you guys that, because this is a really, really important feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close out. Notice I hit the close button, but it says, wait a minute, you either have to save your changes or abort your changes. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and save the changes. If you wonder, well, where did it save those changes at? It's up in my untitled, because I didn't name it. It's under untitled 1. Okay. If you notice at the top of the screen when I was using it, it said untitled 1. So that way, if I want to give it a different name, I got to go to save as. Maybe on my desktop, put my example. So if I do that, then I come over to my desktop. There's my code. All right. So if I want to launch, if I just want to launch the developer, right there like that, I'm just going to get the developer. It's because an untitled 1 file already exists, it's just going to give me untitled 2. If I don't do anything with it, it didn't save anything. Okay, it's only if I actually type something in, don't give it a name. But since I did give it a name, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this other one, and it's going to load that right back in. There's the name of my program, or it's at least the program file. The title bar, when I run this, whatever I have in that title bar is going to show up on the screen up here. Okay, so you can make that anything you want. I could make it I love ice cream. So go ahead and hit F9, and there you go. All right, so whatever you put in that, and that's just a meta command. So if you wonder, I'm just kind of getting a little sidetracked here and there, but you guys are going to pick stuff up as I get sidetracked. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the monitor, and what I've got, if I go into, let's see here, if I go to the display, you notice I've got windows making everything 150% larger, and that's so that it shows up better on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and go smaller, and I'm going to have to log off to change it. I'm going to come back in, and everything's smaller, so it may be more difficult to see on the screen unless you're watching this in high def. I know in YouTube you have to switch your settings. So I'm going to go ahead, go back into developer. All right, and now look what happened. If you can see this, I now have enough room that I can see the whole manual in double pages. Now, if you can't read any of this on your screen and it looks blurry, that's because you're probably watching this video in a very low resolution. So if you're watching it on YouTube, if you go into the settings on the video and you crank it all the way up to see this thing in high definition, because it is being recorded in high definition, then you will be able to actually read this. I'm showing you that when you actually go and you develop, you should have a couple of monitors that are fairly large as far as pixels. And just to give you an idea of what this monitor is, let's go back into here and take a look at it under resolution. So this monitor is a 1920 by 1080. Most of the monitors that I use when I program on are 1920 by 1200. And I've got a really sweet setup that's got 2 of those on it, 1920 by 1200s, and I love it. I mean, you can just fly. Again, you can just put a screen full of text up. I'm going to hit F8, and the other thing is I'm going to come all the way out here, and you can see how much code I can actually have on them. I can have long lines of code, and I can do a lot of stuff. It makes it a lot easier to actually program. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at in this manual. Okay, we're talking about the manual thing. Here's all the different sections, okay, of the manual. In each section of the manual, we're going to be talking about different sections in different videos. All right, but each one covers a different topic. For example, this talks about the language building blocks, basic syntax for the language. I'm going to have a whole video talking about just this. You want to learn the language, you want to be able to create computer art, you really need to learn the language. Watch these videos, you'll be learning the language in no time. This talks about what meta commands are. Again, it'll be a different video, I'll talk about that. You can read the manual and learn about it, but I'll walk you through it. And then all these other things, math, screen and graphics. We start talking about screen and graphics, that's where we're going to get into all these great, wonderful drawing commands and stuff. But real quick, just to kind of show you, section 35 talks about screen and graphics, and if I drop straight down to 45, it gives you all the keywords for the screen and graphics. So these are all the keywords. This is, there's like a couple pages of them, and if I change the view, you can see that there is, like, here's the first page of this section, section 45, page 1, and you can see there's that, and then it continues on. So there's like 3 pages of your base commands, and I call them base commands because after version 2 of Sidebar was created, a whole bunch of extra stuff got added on, and it just became too cumbersome to try and include everything in the manual. So there's a whole bunch of commands that are only documented in this developer, and the way that you can find out about those commands is simply by going to the lookup, and all the commands are in here. So if you go to the index, again, it's going to have them alphabetically. Nobody wants to look at it that way unless you know exactly what you're looking up. So, but if, let's say if you go to screen and graphics, okay, and you want to know, okay, well, I need a command that tells me something about, oh, the physical monitors, right? So you can just click on that, and it says, okay, what do you want to know? Physical monitor information functions, the primary display functions. You know, there's all this different stuff, and say, well, yeah, let me find out, hey, just the monitor count. I just want to find out how many monitors there are, right? So let me show you how to use this. Let's say this computer has count monitors. Okay? Now, what is count? All right, well, count, that's a variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the variable. Notice here you have an integer coming out. Here's the command, get monitor count. So I want to get the monitor count. It says dummy value. That means that whatever I put in here is not going to be used. I'm just going to use the word dummy to indicate that that is a dummy value. All right. So that means that this is not going to be, that the value we're passing to the function get monitor count is not actually going to do anything, but the function is going to return the number to this count variable, and then when we print it, it's going to print it on the screen. Now I am going to get rid of this and hit F9. It says this computer has 1 monitors. A typo, gotta love that. Let's see, let's move on. Here, number 6. Okay, so this button right here, I'm going to click on this button. This button, what it does is it opens up this manual tab. So imagine if you have the keyword tab on, or you could have, say, if you're in the projects tab. All right, it doesn't matter. If you click this, it automatically lights up Lookup, lights up the manual, and takes you to 21 on the getting started. That's all it really does. Okay, so for the most part, you can just, once you know how to use it, just hit that button and get that out of your way, and so you have more room for this information you need on the screen. Okay, so let's go over and go to the next thing on our list. 7. This little button right here. Okay, so that's this button. This button just goes between large and small, and that's large based off of whatever the window is. So if I go into the keywords, notice how it only opens it up this far. That's because no matter what, these keywords are never going to extend further than that, so that's all the further it opens it. It does that so you can have as much of your text on the screen along with whatever information you're trying to look at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and show you something else. Hit Control Shift and clicked on it, and it brought it up in the clipboard. But it's also means the clipboard, that's the Windows clipboard. Anything that's on the Windows clipboard, if you hit the paste, it pastes it. All right. I'm going to come over to keywords. All right. It says press Control to use clipboard text. So what I want to do is I want to make a preset. Watch this. I'm going to hit Control. I'm holding Control. I'm pressing this button. And it created a button for me that says Get Monitor Count. And a little X if I want to get rid of it. So I'll just get rid of it. I'm going to recreate it again. Then I'm going to click on this. What that does is it automatically comes down here and it grabs it and it looks it up. And sometimes it might be, a command might be listed in 2 places, but it takes you right there. Because if I'm working with monitors, I may not want this command, but I want to look at, see what other commands are like next to it. Since all of the commands are kind of grouped together, if you have one command or you're looking at one command and you think, nah, I need something else, but it's in the same group, you can do it this way and look it up, and you don't have to sit here and try and find it. Print command, if you say, well, I wonder what else is available for the print command. Okay, we'll make a preset for it, and you can see, okay, well, there's different things that you can print out, but notice tab, okay, and the tab is totally related to the print. For example, if you use the tab to a different column number, let's say if tab to 8, okay? Okay, so right there, got the cursor on it, and it is on 8. So let's go to the next item on our list. So we are to, we're right into here. Okay, so these things are actually called gray zone buttons. Okay, that's because this is a gray zone. The gray zone buttons do different things depending on what you have. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on this right here. And what this is showing you, this is a what's called a super meta command. It means this is a command that's only really processed by the developer. This command doesn't have anything. You could take this out and your program is going to run the same. This command, the developer does something with it. And in this case here, it creates a line on the screen. Now, see the text here? Whatever you put in there, just text, it centers that text inside of it. You will find that when you write code to have, and if I move this out, if I put some spaces there, then it's going to move it out. It just makes writing different sections of code a whole lot easier, because you can do something like this. You can come in here and go, yeah, see, label line, I'm going to hit Control Shift, click on it, and let's say I want to change the color, okay? I can turn around, I can put this in right here. Now, that's the red value, the green value, and the blue value, right? So there's 3 values there. I'm going to hit F12. F12 toggles between the actual code. You're telling the developer, hey, I want to see the actual code, and okay, take the meta commands and do whatever you're supposed to do with them. And it's supposed to display nice stuff on the screen. So I can either use this little button here, it's a gray zone button, to toggle one individual line, or I can hit the F12 button and toggle them all at the same time. I'm going to show you in the project tab over here. I'm going to click on the project tab, come down to the toolkit, and notice what we've got here. We've got a painting thing. So when I click, let's say on orange, it's telling me that orange is this value, 255, 128, and 0. All right, so let's say I wanted to make this line orange. I can click on this. This is the easy way to do it. Click on this, come in here and paste this. All right, so paste it in. Now I'm going to hit and hold the control, right click, hold the control, right click, and then copy. Okay, and then I can copy that, hit Control V, and I can copy that directly in. That was the block. I can also take a line. Once I have the line there and I highlighted the line, well, before I do that, I'm going to highlight that line, hit delete to get rid of that line. Let's go back to, just double click on this, bring this back. Let's take a look at some of the other things you can do. Wide, how wide do I want this line? All right, I'm going to add this in right here. I'm going to say, well, in my text, I want this line to be, let's say 80 characters wide. All right, and I'm going to hit F12 so you can see it, and notice it took 80 over here. Click this so we can see the whole thing there. Now, let's say I want to make a heading out of this. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the just right click and highlight that line. And then I'm going to hit Control C. Let me copy that entire line to the clipboard. Then I'm going to hit Control V, hit Control V again. Every time I hit Control V, it pastes it. Hit F12 again so that you can see what I'm working with. Now, let's say I want to have something in the center. All right, center of the text. I just hit this, I copied that, it copied all of this to the clipboard. I'm going to come over here and hit Control V. Now, I can just click on it again, left click, and it lights that whole thing up, hit the delete, takes it out, and then I type in whatever I want. And let's say I just want to say monitors. Now I'm going to hit F12 again, and there I've got a nice little heading in my code that this particular section of code is talking about monitors. And let's say maybe I have another section of code later, and I would just want to copy all of this. When you see it, right click, copy, come down here, paste. And it just made a duplicate of it, okay? That's how easy it is to copy and paste text. And maybe I want to make another section, could be, I don't know, just put something because I don't know what it's going to be. But let's say I want to get rid of this. And I just wanted to have another section that I can label text with. I don't have to go through all that over again. And you can create several of these. I can copy all that and just make a whole bunch of them. Okay. Now I can come over here and say I want to get rid of from everything I just did. Delete. Look how fast I'm editing. This is awesome. All right, so let's move on. The gray zone buttons. Oh, gray zone buttons. See, I get sidetracked. See this version here? Here is a command. Every time you click on the gray zone button, the V on this command, notice it threw the today's date in and whatever version it is. Now, let's say I only want to have 2 digits of version number. Well, that's fine. It'll just, whatever you're using, it'll update the version, right? So it's just every time I click it, I'm incrementing it. So what happens is this is really nice because let's say you have a bunch of code and you got a whole bunch of different sections of code. Well, you make some changes to it. You just come up here and just click that. It automatically increments the version number and puts today's date on it. It's a nice way of keeping track of how long ago you wrote a particular section of code. This happens to be a command that you will not find in the manual. Okay, so that's the reason why it says the above image is from cat image. In other words, this is not going to be found in the manual. All right, you will not find any of these commands in the manual. It was added on after the manual was made, is what happened. And there's a lot of stuff that was added on since the manual was made. So you really want to, kind of go by what's in the developer. Let's move on. The file button, number 9. Pretty self-explanatory. You want to save whatever you're working on. I'm going to show you something here. Every time we make a change, this goes gray. Gray means there's unsaved changes. All right. So if I come up here and I hit save, it turns it red. So if I click on that, it will exit the program out because it's red, means everything's already been saved. Bring it back up, it's red because there's no changes been made, right? I make one change, something's different, it went gray because if I hit it and when it's gray, it pulls this up and says you have to pick one of these. That's why these are red here. It says if you want the red X, you either have to select change, save your changes or abort your changes. So if I say, well, I want to abort the changes, then that F didn't get saved. Okay. So the read-only toggle, this is kind of nice. If you click on this, it makes the whole file read-only. I'm going to click off this and I'm going to go to the file, go to properties, and you will notice the read-only is on, the attribute for the file. Okay, that is really nice because what happens is, especially if you start copying and pasting from different files, once you get your code the way you want it, you may want to copy out of that. So flip on that read-only. You can toggle the read-only on and off that easy. But after you have your code set, toggle it on. Have 2 monitors set up so that you can take your read-only code, throw it on one monitor, and then when you're writing something new, you can refer to the stuff in the read-only, and then you can still copy out of it. See, if it's read-only, you can still highlight stuff and copy it to the clipboard. That's the Windows clipboard, and we can actually do this if you only have one monitor by setting up yet. Say I got, here's my example, and here's my new file. Okay. And I can come in here and hit paste. So, and there is no limit to how many of these things you can set up except the memory in your computer. You eventually will run out of memory, all right? So there's 3 of them. And if you want to see where you're at in memory, what can you do? I'm going to hit Alt-Control-Delete, start my task manager. Notice it shows you that there's 3 things there. Kind of here's the graphic, the memory use. Okay, so you can kind of see that. So watch what happens if I close this out. You see the drop in that line. If I close out another one, it'll drop again. Okay. So there you go. Let's move on to number 10, the edit button. Okay, so here's your edit button, right? Pretty much, let's get over here. So let's say you have deleted this out by accident, right? Delete, oh, I got the read-only on. See, it won't let me do anything because the read-only's on. Hey, I think we got something going on outside. The squad's going by. All right, so let's see here, the read-only. Take the read-only off. All right, now let's say if you took something out, like took out all this, and then you're like, oh, I hit the wrong button. I don't want that, right? Okay, so come over and hit your undo button. Now in your edit menu, it's basically telling you, here's the undo. You also have a shortcut, Alt-Control-R. Okay, so let's say I say, no, I want to redo that. I hit Alt-Control-R, and it will redo whatever it was I just did. So you've got your undo and your redo. And that is cumulative, okay? So, for example, if you did this, and then you did this, okay, you can undo it, undo it, undo it, undo it, till you don't have any more undos to do, or redo it, redo it, redo it, okay? So, that's pretty sweet. At any rate, okay, so let's move on to paste. We've already been using that this whole time. These are your basic edit controls you'll find almost any word processor. Select all is Control A. Again, this is a common edit. If you want to select everything and hit, select everything and hit copy. I'm going to show you something. You are copying it to the actual Windows clipboard. So you could come into a different program. Let's say if you set up a text document that you're just going to open up in Notepad, and then hit Control V. All right, so it just took all of that and posted it into Notepad as pure text. All right, so anytime you're copying these edit controls, you're dealing with text, and erase the clipboard. If there's stuff on the clipboard you don't want. In the insert mode, notice the cursor. It's kind of like a flat blinking cursor, right? And if let me do this, okay, I'm going to click over here to lose keyboard focus. Okay, I don't know if you guys know what keyboard focus is, but if you have multiple windows, for example, let's say you've got something like this, right? So this window right here, if I click on this and I'm working on this has the focus. When you click back, then this application developer has keyboard focus and the cursor starts blinking. So if the cursor is not blinking, it doesn't have keyboard focus. If the cursor is blinking, and notice if you don't want to change the position, you can click up here. See, if I lost it and I come back, I'm like, I don't know where my cursor is, but I don't want to change the position. Just click on that right there and it'll bring it back. Otherwise, you can move the cursor position around by clicking on wherever you want to stick it on the screen. You got all this stuff here, and Notice it's just pushing everything over because it's inserting text. If I hit the insert button one time, see it's big. The cursor went to this huge block. That's because you're erasing. It's replace mode, right? But what this has, which almost nothing else has that I've ever seen before, is a very unique feature. And I'm going to hit the control insert. What it did is, if you can see this arrow, it is a down arrow. And it means you're going to type down, okay? So there are all kinds of times that you may, let's say if you have a name of a variable, peach, 01, string, right? Let's say if you have that, right? So Control C, say I want a bunch of them, and then I want to come over here and just number them, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Look at that. So that becomes very, very easy. There's times you may find that you need to assign a bunch of different data, and so you want to put a bunch of equal signs in, right? Watch this. Let's say you have a string of data. This is a prefix, all right? And then maybe you want to start off each one of these strings with this for some reason. It could be anything. But I'm going to show you something. You can highlight all of this, hit Control Copy, or hit Copy or hit Control C. All right. Now I'm going to hit the Control Insert to get that down arrow going again, and then I'm going to hit Control V and just hold it down. Look at that. Okay. So I'm going to say, oh, I don't want that there. Okay, we'll just take this out, and so maybe you want to work on this. Just copy the whole block, and then you can type in something unique here, something unique here, something unique here. See, whatever you want. And then say if you have to put quotes on the end for all of them, just like that. See? Or you could have come over and copied it off of this side, hit Control Copy, delete, bring it over like that. So just giving you a taste of some of the things you can do with the editor, because that's what we're talking about, the different edit tools. Okay, the find and the find next, just like any standard word processor. So what I'm going to do is just go into the F. Say, yeah, this. Do I want it case sensitive? You know, and then hit F3. Every time I hit F3, it's going to go find the next one for me, right? If I want to replace them, hit Control R. So Control R. And was the text defined? Well, let's make it this and change it to that. I don't know, it's just dumb. Let's say I want to do case sensitive. I want to do the entire scope, everything. I want to do everything in this particular file, not from just the cursor down, but the entire thing. I don't even want to be prompted on it. I just replace them all. So there you go, boom. So it just replaced all of this's to that's. Right. Moving on. Toggle. We already talked about the F12. All right. So if you're wondering, well, I'll never remember this stuff you talked about. Most of it's right in here, right? And what isn't here? If you go to the Edit Help window, you're going to find out the different types of selection. The regular selection that I used to highlight, just like that, and then hit Copy. All right. The line block, which is I've been using by just right-click on one line, right-click on another line, and everything in between gets highlighted. And then you can copy, delete it, hit D for delete, or you can copy, then delete it, and then paste it. And the block selection that I've used in a lot of places, we're going to have to hold the Control, says okay, this is telling you on page 2, it's telling you what each of these things do. Page 3 tells you how to actually make it work. And notice orange right here, and orange, right? So it's kind of color coded. It says Control plus the right click. All right, marks a corner, mark any 2 corners of a block to make a block selection. So this is going to tell you exactly how to do it. You can just read through this, but the dark blue, it is color coded for the line block, so it's easy. You don't have to read through all of it. Just think, okay, yeah, I want to. How do I use this line block? This is what it does, and this is what I have to do to use it. Right, just right click. Let's move on. This talks right here on page 4, talks more about the find and replace, and talks about project wide. Now, I don't have a setup to show you project wide. That'll be the subject of a different video, but you can have project-wide means when you start getting in, you have a project here, you have a name of a project, and then you have all the files that belong to that project. And then you can search every file that's part of your project. And just real quick, if you want to know how to, and when you have a file tree, just like you have tree, this is like a tree to look up all these commands. Well, once you start building a project, you actually have a tree, and you'll have a tree of files. And so it will actually build this for you, and you use meta commands to actually do that. Create a project, okay? So just to let you guys know, this is, come over here. Anybody that watches this that's interested right off the bat and says, well, I want to learn more about the create a project. You know, how does that work? Okay, so you can start reading it as far as create a project, you put it on a master file, part of project, all the other files have to have this part of project up at the top. And the whole nother video is going to explain how to actually use this and show a whole bunch of examples. Because without examples, it is a little bit difficult to figure it out the first time. But once you see an example of it, and then you've got all this material for reference, it's pretty easy to do. So it's really sweet too. Let's move on. 11. Okay, so 11 is the file name bar button. Of course, it displays the file name of the file that's currently shown in the edit window. And when the edit window does not have keyboard focus, the button is gray color. Not only does the cursor go away, but the bar turns gray. Click it again, bar goes blue. So other than that, it's just going to list the name of my example. This button here, if you click that, it's going to tell you the path to this file. This is just giving you the file name. Right here's the file name is at the end. It's always .cb code. That is the extension. I'm going to go in here and look at properties on this. And notice it says CB code. And it opens with this runtime. So by having that as the extension, that when you click that, the Windows automatically knows that that file is to be opened by the application developer. Okay, so that's the reason why it has that extension on it. But other than that, it gives you the path: C:\users test desktop, and so that's the full path to get to my file here. So that's what that button does. And then of course the copy, the undo, the redo, the paste. That's pretty self-explanatory. The minimize button throws it down here, standard Windows. Full button takes it up, and of course the X, and we've gone over that several times. That'll wrap up this video. And if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you like the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. All of that tells YouTube that people like our stuff, and it will put us up higher in the rankings. So we really appreciate it. Cheers.